Assalamu alaikum YouTube, back with another video here. And in this video, I'm going to share with you guys some very important books in the Arabic language to help beginners improve their Arabic significantly. In my last video, I shared with you guys a very simple but effective way to put an end to a lot of the struggles that come with reading in the Arabic language for beginners. I mentioned the importance of reading at your level and also the importance of using these foundational books to help you strengthen your reading comprehension, practice your ability to translate, and just understand these different styles of Arabic writing and expressions. And I've mentioned in the past some of these books that I would recommend for beginners to start reading to help them improve their Arabic. And I'll link one of those videos here, inshallah. So let's jump right into it. First and foremost, I would recommend that you have some foundation in grammar and morphology in the Arabic language, as well as some basic vocabulary, right? Some commonly used verbs, some commonly used prepositions, some commonly used nouns. And for those of you who don't know, I wrote the Essentials of Arabic Grammar for this reason. When I started teaching the Arabic language back in 2017, I used this same approach that I've kind of structured the text on. And in this text, I address everything that I believe it's absolutely essential for the beginner to know when it comes to the three types of words in the Arabic language, when it comes to the noun, right, and nominal sentence structure, when it comes to the verb and verbal sentence structure, and when it comes to prepositions in the Arabic language. And this text is geared toward beginners, but it's also beneficial for those of you who have studied previously and you're looking to revise and solidify what you've already learned. Also, you'll find the lessons that cover this text on my YouTube channel for free. But obviously, the Arabic language is a lot more than just grammar, right? And that begs the question, how do we build vocabulary that actually sticks? How do we strengthen our ability to read and understand texts? And so in addition to some of these books that I've already spoken about in this video here, I'm going to share a few others that have been beneficial for me on my Arabic learning journey as a beginner. And I'm also going to share with you an example of the most effective way to maximize your ability to build Arabic vocabulary that sticks. So you're going to want to watch this video till the end. So like I said, very important to have a foundation in grammar and morphology, these types of things, right? Some basic Arabic vocabulary. But again, Arabic is more than just grammar. So there also needs to be a practical element to what we're learning, right? And when I first started learning the Arabic language, I would go to my local Islamic bookstore a lot. And one of the books that I found was called the Medina Arabic Reader. And it's a reader that's based on the course taught at the Islamic University of Medina. And this reader is published by Goodword. Why is this Medina Arabic Reader extremely beneficial in addition to learning grammar and morphology? Firstly, each level of this text is very simple. It has about 12 or 13 lessons, right? It's in Arabic and English. It does address some particular grammar rules, a lot of written exercises and things like that, and vocabulary, a lot of pictures as well, right? It's almost like the children's version of the Medina Arabic books, right? And I haven't been through the Medina Arabic curriculum at all, but it's definitely something that's a lot more digestible to the beginner. And I'm not sure how many times I've said it in this video, but again, Arabic is not simply grammar and morphology, right? So it's very important to have text like this where you're going through specific examples and written exercises that are going to help you to properly comprehend a lot of these grammatical concepts. So this text is going to help you strengthen your reading ability, your writing ability, help you build vocabulary. And these texts are also very beneficial to help you with your speaking ability as well, inshallah. Next up is قصص النبيين للأطفال, stories of the prophets for children. And like I mentioned in the last video, as adults, this could be a turnoff, right? Who wants to read children's books? But the reality of the matter is, if you're a beginner in the Arabic language, you're not going to be reading some very advanced texts and things like that. This is where you want to start. And this book is written by Sheikh Abul Hassan al-Nadwi, right? And there's actually a website where you can download this text for free. And as a beginner in the Arabic language, even after I had just completed the Ajurumiyya, I actually went through sections of Qasas al-Nabiyyin with one of my teachers from Egypt before I had come to Egypt. But also as time progressed, I would purchase a lot of different courses online from various institutes from North America to Jordan. And I can assure you guys, right, especially when you're learning classical Arabic, this text is essential. This text is like a foundational pillar in teaching the Arabic language to beginners. And basically, I would go through these texts and I would learn the meanings of these words, their i'rab, for example, right? Practice my ability to translate from Arabic to English, because translation is a very essential skill to have as well. And it's something that is developed over time, right? I would also revise a lot of the concepts that I learned in the Ajurumiyya by going through this text with my teacher as well, right? And building on some of these concepts. And again, like I said, it's very essential to have something that is practical when you're learning the Arabic language, because you don't want to just be learning a lot of grammar and sarf and basic vocabulary and not see how these things come together, right? That's very important. And even if you're not Muslim, I mean, I don't see a reason why you still can't read this text. It's definitely something that's still beneficial. There are plenty other texts as well that, go into like stories of animals and things like that that you can utilize. Many other children's books as well. It doesn't have to be these particular texts. And I'm going to touch on that a little further after I get through these specific texts that I have experience with and that I've seen to be effective. But yeah, in that video that I linked previously, I'll link that video here again. I kind of go into why I think this text is beneficial, if I'm not mistaken. And in a second, I'm going to share with you a page of this text and just kind of show you how you can maximize your ability to build and retain Arabic vocabulary when reading through books like this, inshallah. And there are plenty of other books that I can mention, but I think that, I'll save a lot of these books as time goes on and I'm kind of engaging with people and seeing where people are at, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself with a bunch of books and then kind of go through this sort of analysis paralysis where you're not even reading any of them. You just have like a bunch of books that you've collected, and it can be overwhelming, right? But at the same time, you don't want to limit yourself to books in a particular subject or to specific books. You want to expose yourself as a beginner to a lot of different writing styles and a lot of different forms of expression in the Arabic language. And so, there's a balance to strike here. And so this next book, right, by the same author, Sheikh Abul Hassan al-Nadwi, Al-Qira'atul Rashida, again, which I've mentioned countless times on this channel, Al-Qira'atul Rashida kind of bridges that gap. And both of these texts take a progressive approach where over time more and more words are being introduced. More and more forms of expression in the Arabic language are being introduced. And one of the greatest benefits to Al-Qira'atul Rashida is that it has like a modern tinge to it. It's geared toward non-native Arab speakers who are learning the Arabic language. Also, he's included many different forms of Arabic literature, classical Arabic literature. We're talking Quran, we're talking poetry, we're talking excerpts from classical works. This also includes conversational dialogue, and it's written in a very easy to understand format. And like I said, with a modern tinge to it. So this text is amazing. I've also mentioned in the past as well some books of Quranic exegesis, which I won't go too much into here, but they're books that are recommended by Arabic teachers as well. Books, for example, like Tafsir Ibn Kathir, right? Which is a major work in the realm of tafsir, but he uses very easy Arabic, right, to understand, which makes it very accessible to beginners. Also, Tafsir al-Jalalain. The benefit of Tafsir al-Jalalain is that it's very concise, and the authors, when they elaborate on a particular word in the Quran, they're using synonyms, which is something that is a very essential component of learning the Arabic language and building vocabulary, right? What I've mentioned about books in particular, I think this is sufficient for the beginner. Now, there's something very important to address here: how to read books, right, in the Arabic language as a beginner, how to maximize my ability to build and retain Arabic vocabulary as I'm reading. And because these particular books are geared toward this purpose, right? Beginners in the Arabic language, and because they use a progressive writing style and this spaced repetition of particular words, commonly used words, if you're consistent enough, you're going to build vocabulary naturally, especially if you're engaging with these stories. But not every book is written in this style. That being said, every reputable Arabic program across the world, every reputable Arabic text that teaches the Arabic language across the world in a particular, structured curriculum, there's a process to follow in terms of building vocabulary that has been followed for centuries, right? Till this day, even out here as I'm learning, this is the approach that's taken. And I'm going to take you guys through that approach in a second. But there's a few key advices that I want to give. Firstly, you want to find books that you're genuinely interested in reading. So while I'm recommending these particular texts, you want to find books that you find enjoyable to read, right? And I didn't mention a lot of these other texts. I kind of wanted to keep this video short and simple, but another text that I had bought early on was called Stories from the Quran. It was a children's book as well. And you can just go to your local Islamic bookstore, shop around online. Even, for example, Sheikh Abul Hassan al-Nadwi, there's a website where you can, download a lot of different books in the Arabic language for free on various different subjects that are geared toward beginners. So you want to find books that you genuinely enjoy reading, right? And the reason for this is because because, you're bound to come across some difficult words that maybe you can't find, or some moments where you're struggling in terms of your understanding and translating and things like that, right? So, and a lot of times when these types of moments happen, especially for people who don't have teachers, they typically just tend to like quit. They give up, or they associate reading with being super difficult and boring and stressful, right? There are specific texts where it's very important to go through with a teacher. And even texts like Qasas and Nabiyin, like I said, I went through that with a teacher. But also, it's important to find books that you genuinely find interesting, some things you genuinely want to learn about and understand. It might just be even something that's a little more entertaining. Everyone's aim is different, right? So that's very important. Now, as a beginner, how do I maximize my ability to build and retain Arabic vocabulary, build vocabulary that sticks, right, as I'm reading? And like I said, there's an element of this that will naturally happen given the context of what you're reading and given particular, styles of writing like these texts that I've mentioned, where there is progression in the difficulty in the writing, and maybe there's diversity in, the types of words that are being used, the types of expressions that are being used. And then, of course, the spaced repetition of words, which is a key element of retaining vocabulary, right? But like I've mentioned countless times on this channel, there's an element of study, there's an element of reading, there's an element of writing, there's an element of really engaging with what you're reading and what you're learning that should be done and that really needs to be done as a beginner student for you to significantly improve your vocabulary and retain these words. And this is where I know I'm going to lose some of you, right? Some of you have already clicked off the video. Some of you are about to click off the video now because you're like, study. And the reason for this is because like a lot of these YouTube videos, they created this culture of like, you can master the Arabic language in a month, in 6 months, in a year, right? This is just not realistic. And I'm not saying that you can't make significant progress and have a very solid foundation in the Arabic language that you can build upon and continue building upon that, inshallah, eventually leads to mastery of the Arabic language. And I know a lot of these guys, they have all sorts of things they're selling. Arabic inhalers, you can inhale the Arabic language. Some of these guys are telling you they have new Arabic capsules, right? Take one of these a day and it will keep the English at bay and ensure your Arabic's here to stay. Like, guys, this is not realistic, right? The moment I mention study, writing, and all this stuff, they're like, what is this, 3rd century Hijri? There's an element of study, there's an element of real learning that goes into building vocabulary and really strengthening your Arabic, and inshallah leading to mastery for all of you. But it's not something that happens overnight. And I know plenty of teachers who are PhDs in the Arabic language, teachers who are scholars in their own right, that are native Arab speakers, that kind of laugh at this idea of mastering the Arabic language in 1 year, and even joke about, signing up for the program themselves, right? So this is not realistic. But like I said, you can get to a certain level of Arabic proficiency within a year or two's time, right? Mastery is a whole different level. And also we're talking about in all of these different areas of the Arabic language. And I'm going to touch on some of these different areas of learning the Arabic language in another video. And I kind of went off on a tangent there. But how do you read books as a beginner? What's super important? One, reading out loud, right? You want to make sure that you're reading out loud, not in your head, not, in a whisper, right? You want to read out loud so that you're hearing yourself read, you're hearing these sounds, you're able to pick up on a lot of these words as well as you're reading. You're also building your confidence and comfortability in reading, right? Whenever you read books with a teacher as well, whether that's in a one-on-one setting or whether that's in a group setting, you're reading out loud, right? And a lot of times as you're doing this, your teacher will stop you, maybe give you some historical context or some background. If you ask about a particular word, you don't know its meaning, he's going to give you some synonyms to that word, etc. So reading out loud is very important even when you're by yourself. 2, you want to read that section that you're reading, whether that's a page, whether that's a paragraph, in full. And then you want to kind of gauge for yourself, what words did I pick up on? Am I understanding the context of what's being said here, right? What words don't I know? And that's when you want to go back through and you want to kind of highlight these words that you don't know. In the beginning, initially, it might be a lot of words, but if you kind of have some background, like I said, with some basic vocabulary, Quranic vocabulary, some nahu and sarf, it's going to be a lot easier for you, right? Especially starting with texts like this. There shouldn't be too many words that you don't know, right? Or that you're searching up. And if there is, then you want to limit yourself and maybe take 5 words, for example. Maybe you cap it at 5 words per page or whatever it is that you're reading, right? And you want to take those 5 words that you don't know, and there's a few things that you want to do. The first is you want to search the meaning of this particular word, right? You want to find the meaning of this word. Secondly, if it's a singular word, you want to find the plural form of this word. If it's a plural word, you want to find the singular form of this word. If it's a past tense verb, you want to find the present tense of this verb. The second part to this is finding the antonym to this word, right? The opposite of this word. For example, the word maftuh, open, right? The opposite of maftuh is mughlaq, for example. The opposite of a word like mutafa'il, an optimist, is mutasha'im. So where it's applicable, you want to make sure that you know the opposite of whatever new word it is that you're learning. Why is this important? Because you want to be able to use these words outside of the context of just reading this text. Also, this is something that's essential in learning any language, right? Whether speaking or reading, even as a native English speaker, right? If you know the word hot, it's important for you to know the word cold. If you know the word open, it's important for you to know the word closed, for example. There's also another layer to this. Wherever it's applicable, right, with this new word that you've learned, you want to know some synonyms for that word, terms that are similar to that word. And in doing this, you don't want to be putting this in an app. You don't want to be taking pictures of it. You don't want to be typing it out, right? You want to actually write these things out. This is extremely important. This is something that all of my teachers have always emphasized from the moment that I've started learning, is writing things out with pen and paper, right? Especially when it comes to the Arabic language. Not only because this is going to help you improve your writing ability, right? But because this is a way to help you retain what you're learning. Read and enjoy what you're reading. But obviously, the whole point is for you to be able to understand what you're reading and build vocabulary. And some of you might be saying, this is a lot, right? This is a lot to do when reading a particular page or chapter or paragraph of something, to pull these words out and then do all of this. But what I'm telling you guys is not something new, and it's not something foreign to Arabic learners anywhere in the world, right? It's something that is essential to building vocabulary. And as a beginner, especially if this is something that you're going through without a teacher at the moment, books like Qasas al-Nabiyyin, for example, or Al-Qira'at al-Rashida, the author is including these things a lot of times in that same story, right? So it's not something that you necessarily always have to go out of your way to do. And I'm going to demonstrate this real quick before I end this video. So we see this page here from Qasas al-Nabiyyin, from the story of Prophet Abraham, alayhi salam. And without even reading, right, if you were to just pause this and take a look at this page, you can pick out a few words that are constantly being repeated. We see ja'a, for example, right, countless times. Kharaja, for example, countless times. Qala, etc., right? Also, with these new words that you've learned and written in your notebook, you want to make up to 5 to 10 sentences of your own with them, right? So if we look at the word kharaja, for example, right, this is a verb. And again, this is why I say it's important to know some basic grammar and morphology, right? Because you're going to be dealing with a lot of different verbs here. And also, if this is a new word for you and it's a verb and you're putting it into a sentence, it's important to also know the conjugations of these verbs. Kharaja, kharajtu, right? Kharajat, kharaju, for example, right? So we see the verb kharaja here. In this same story, we can also find its present tense, right? Takhruju, kharaja, yakhruju. If we take the word dhahaba, for example, dhahaba yadhabu, right? Dhahaba is a past tense verb. We also find in the same page the antonym, right? The opposite of dhahaba, right? Ja'a, right? Dhahaba, he went. Ja'a, he came. You see what I'm saying? We also see an ism here, right? Al-asnam. It's a broken plural, right? It's a broken plural, meaning idols. In the same page, we find what? Its singular form, right? The mufrad. Al-sanam. So idols, idol. The author is not doing this coincidentally, right? And you'll find this all throughout this text. And this is why it's important to start with some of these foundational texts, because it's going to help you build your vocabulary naturally, right? You're going to be able to pick these words out as you're reading naturally. And that's why you want to have a notebook with you as well. So like I said, this method is essential to building vocabulary that sticks. And this is something that pertains to speaking as well. Being in Egypt, right? Even as I'm speaking, these are very important things for me to know. I'll ask people, right? ما معنى هذه الكلمة? Right? What is the meaning of this word? ما عكس هذه الكلمة? What is the antonym of this word? Right? What is the opposite of this word? ما مرادف هذه الكلمة? What is the synonym of this word? What is another word that's used for this word? Why is it important to know the singular form of a word, its plural, its opposite, the plural form or singular form of that word, and then also some synonyms for this particular word? It's because this is what's going to expand your vocabulary. This is also what's going to help you be able to read and understand a variety of other forms of Arabic literature without having this barrier between you and understanding this text by constantly needing to stop and search up words, etc. Right? So everything that I've shared with you guys in this video has been super beneficial for me early on in my Arabic learning journey and is still beneficial to me today. Don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know if this video was beneficial. Let me know if you have any other questions or things you'd like me to address. And inshallah, till next time. Assalamu alaikum.